Hey yo, what's up, guys?
Back in action.
Back in action.
What's
Welcome again
happening?
to the Adaptive Podcast, episode 6. We are live February 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us. We hope you guys are going to really join in with the show today. We're going to talk about some of the Masvidal Covington beef. We're going to talk about Bobby Green, Islam. We are going to continue with our Jiu Jitsu philosophical talks and points of views. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, we are Adaptive Jiu Jitsu. I am Len. We're here with Eli and Eddie. Ed is a brown belt. I am a purple belt. Elijah's a blue belt. We have been doing Jiu Jitsu for several years together, been friends for over 20 years. And we started this little brand for you guys, kind of bring Jiu Jitsu and MMA information, as well as bring you some great gear that you can check out at our website. The podcast is brought to you by Radji Barrett Jiu Jitsu Academy. If you're cool, you can train here. Check him out on Instagram at Radji Barrett Jiu Jitsu and RadjiBarrettJiu-Jitsu.com. So with that, let's go ahead and get started.
What's happening?
Talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
What's happening? Excited. Happy we're back on the air here.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some topics to talk about. You want to start off with the main event last night, Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green. We were on Instagram Live the other day. We were talking about it. We showed some funny clips of Bobby Green basically going on and on about how boring of a fighter Islam is, even though he even admitted, he's finishing everybody. He's like the most boring guy, but he's got like a 10-fight win streak and he's finishing everybody, and he's just boring. Who wants to see finishes? I'm entertaining, but he's boring. Now, all right. Islam is kind of a boring personality, sure, but like we're talking about a fight, right? So I mean, like, he's not a boring fighter when he's finishing people.
I think even me, who's got limited years of watching MMA, just looking at Islam, you knew that he's going to take the guy to the cage, and he's going to hold him up there until he can get him on the mat, and then he was going to mount him or take his back and just beat the shit out of him.
Well, it pretty much went the way I predicted, but the funny thing is there was a good minute and a half, 2 minutes of them circling and like throwing feints, and Bobby Green didn't take any advantage, and that he had 2 minutes to like really get after it, and he didn't. And then I think they got into like we have a clip of the fight,
Lenny,
right?
if you want to show the clip.
Yeah, let's show the. Do we have any? Wait, backtrack. Do we have any of the clips of him talking? Bobby Green leading up to it.
We do have the clips of him talking.
Do we show that again, or we don't even?
Well, we did show it on the IG Live. If you
for
feel
anybody that
showing it, we can do it.
Which one was it?
It's the second link. The one.
So basically, Bobby Green. It's an interview not post fight. It's a pre-fight interview leading up to it. It was like, I don't know, Thursday or Wednesday or whenever they have their pre-fight conferences or whatever. And Bobby Green was just really funny. I was rooting for him. I mean, Islam, don't get me wrong, I like him for his jiu-jitsu and his grappling, obviously, like,
and he got
jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Bobby got the fight late, and he lost.
It was 2 weeks notice. Just so anybody didn't know going into this fight, so Benyol Dariush was supposed to fight, and he's ranked number 4th in the lightweight division, and I think Islam's 3 now. And that would have been a really good matchup. Both those guys, really good grappling. I think Dariush actually had better striking. I thought he was more than capable of winning that fight. I think what's sad is now no one's going to talk about him. And that guy was on like an 7 or 8 fight win streak himself, and beating Tony Ferguson, beating. Like,
and we probably would have saw some jiu-jitsu too, because isn't Dariush just as good as Islam here?
Might be even better as far as jiu-jitsu. Maybe Islam's like wrestling's better. But like a guy that knows, like, think about it. We're in a gym, right?
Right.
Any guy that we're dealing with that's a wrestler, if you just have experience on that wrestler as far as like jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get the best. Most of the time.
Like in only 2.5 years of doing jiu-jitsu, I think that's always like like I've seen memes, and it's always funny to me. It's always like, you could have told me the guy was a wrestler before I rolled with him. He's a white belt, and all of a sudden he's like doing things I didn't expect him to do. But it is part of, like,
Yeah, I mean, like a brand new white belt that's been a wrestler before is obviously he's gonna be tenacious. He's coming after you. So you're always gonna be like, whoa, hey, this guy knows. You feel like, oh, he knows a little bit more. He's just a competitor already because he's been doing wrestling. So it's obviously different from like a brand new white belt, never did combat sports or anything like that or any martial art, and then he comes in and he's a wrestler already. So yeah, he's coming at you. But the funny thing is, you feel the grappling exchange. Maybe you get tired, but once you realize, like, oh, they don't really know technique.
Yeah,
you're just like, all right.
Like Professor Joe brought in a kid that was committed to D1 over the summer, and
good kid.
Yeah, he was a really nice kid.
Can't think of his name.
Luke, I think his was.
Yeah, Lucas or
and it was maybe Wagner. I think I can't remember the school. I apologize if I
bad enough with first names. Sorry, man.
Yeah. He was a really nice kid. I loved his demeanor. He was like walking around the mats hungry for like a roll with somebody, like
walking around like a gorilla.
Yeah, like a gorilla, you know, an alpha. But he was very humble.
You want to roll?
You want to roll?
No, bro.
He was very humble though. But we rolled, and you're right. The technique is going to, even though he's a D1 commit, I held him in side control, and afterwards he was like, "How did you do that?" And I was like, I don't know. And then afterwards is when I found out, like, I thought it was just like a normal person asking me, how did I hold him down? I didn't realize this was a kid that was like a D1 commit. You know what I'm saying? But we went a little bit sidetrack here.
Bobby Green.
Yeah, Bobby Green.
Ready to roll the video?
Yeah, roll the video.
All
roll the
right.
tape.
Islam, is he championship material? I know that he's been really downplaying me, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. He's a good opponent. I think he's been on this win streak. You know, he is championship material according to wins. You know, if we're gonna talk about just wins, but I feel like,
I kind of wish like we could hear it.
Yeah. When it comes to this MMA stuff, it's what product.
I mean,
you're
how
selling.
long is this clip?
I always tell all my young fighters that.
So
they're like, no, don't stop it.
Yeah. So I said this on the IG live, but I really thought it was funny because I fucked up my beard. Clearly, that's why I got the creeper mustache.
He was going for the Bobby Green. He really screwed up.
I should have went for the Bobby Green, and I mean, how long does it possibly take to get your beard with all those sharp edges?
By the way, guys, he did not fuck up his beard. This
didn't do this
motherfucker
on
was
purpose.
looking for an excuse. Looking for the excuse for that mustache.
All I'm saying is, been much cooler if my friends decided to do mustaches too.
Why? So you don't feel alone in the shaming?
So let's get back to this guy. So look, we talked about this several times over a couple episodes now, that like it's good for the sport when you have characters, and when people are heels and like they push the envelope on things and whatnot. And I get it. He explains, and I don't think he did it in this clip, but he explains how his style is not about winning.
It's just entertaining.
It's about entertaining. I'm sorry, dude. Come on, man. You're in the UFC. You need to be about winning. It can't be about be entertaining. You're not there doing magic tricks. You're there punching somebody in the face.
It is when it's called cheddar money.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
It's about money.
Fine. Fair. But if you're entertaining, and you're making money off the entertainment, at one point or another, you're not going to get any more fights because you can't beat anybody.
Sure. All right. Well, see, that's where the matchup was bad, because obviously you got a Khabib-like style fighter, right? That's heavy grappling, like extreme, like he could submit you, not just wrestle. Like there's been a lot of guys that just like hold people down. Dude, you saw in the fight, we're about to roll a little highlight video of how the fight went down, because it didn't go long. But like the funny part is, Bobby Green, what was hilarious about the pre-fight interview or whatever leading up to the fight was he's just like, this guy, he's boring. He's a boring dude. I'm entertaining. He's like, they're like, is he championship mental, capable? And he's like, yeah, he's on like a 10-fight winning streak, but he's boring. He's like finishing people. Like, who cares?
He's got like a highlight reel of boring finishes. This is like, yeah, because he's good.
Well, the hilarious part to me was like, they're asking questions like, instead of being like, nah, I'm gonna fuck this guy up, he was like, yeah, so he's pretty much on a roll where he's finishing everybody, but he's boring.
So boring.
But I'm so entertaining this is what he's gonna do. He's gonna get a hold of me. He's gonna drag me down. He's gonna finish me. But that's boring.
Yeah.
Who wants to see that?
Right. Guys, I'm gonna do a bunch of magic tricks, and I'm gonna pull a bunny out of a hat, but he is going to beat me. Like, I don't know. I get it. He's a showman. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way because if you're gonna talk all that shit, you
I
better,
like Bobby
you
Green
better
too.
cash that check. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just go in there and be like, yeah, if he's boring fighter, be like, yeah, I'm gonna make this exciting.
right.
I'm gonna beat him. Who the fuck? Like his answer was so weird. It was like, yeah, I accepted my fate, and I'm gonna use this as a 2-week, fight camp excuse because obviously, like I was saying before, Benyil Dariush was supposed to fight. He got hurt 2 weeks ago. Bobby Green just fought like 3 weeks ago, and he took this on 2 weeks' notice. Guy was weighing at like 190. This was supposed to be a 155 weight matchup, and they did a catch weight at 160, I believe. And it was like, okay, he still, dude, dropped like
what
30.
does that mean? Catch weight.
Where they meet in the middle.
So it's a compromise within the contract.
Yeah, because obviously, what's his name he cut all that weight. He was supposed to fight. I think Islam. Wasn't even 160.
You got to believe he probably put 10 pounds on before the fight even started, right? At least.
Oh, dude, those guys. Every time when these guys fight and they're at a weight class, say they're fighting at 155, I guarantee you, Islam was like 170 when he was fighting. Those guys balloon the next day. They balloon up. All that water weight's gone. They fill up. They eat.
I think that's something that unless you did wrestling in high school, like unless you spent time cutting weight for fights, like I didn't. I definitely didn't. But if you ever did that in life,
Yeah, you didn't wrestle either.
No. But if you ever did that in life, like people who haven't don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Well, that would be the only reason to cut weight in that dramatic fashion.
Right.
There's no other reason to do it that I've ever come across in our everyday culture, right? Growing up where we did, unless you're a wrestler and then you're wearing the garbage bags and you're dying, which you're dehydrated. I mean, it's terrible. There's so much better ways to cut weight. And I'm so surprised that I guess it depends on the individual. What work are you willing to do? Because it seems like that's a way to suffer, and it's more dangerous to just do the dehydration thing, right?
Yes.
To starve and dehydrate and to just wear garbage bags and overheat yourself,
right?
When you can do these other really rapid weight loss diets, like I don't know, keto or something, where in a couple weeks you just have to give yourself enough time.
So
it seems safer to me.
So I kind of want to make a shout out to your wife. She made kind of a good point about like balancing out the entertainment aspect of it and along with like technique and being able to fight, And it's like, all right, again, but here's the thing. Sometimes for me, if you're finishing guys, like that's enough. Like think about Ngannou. Comes across as a nice guy, broken English. You know what I mean? He's not like he's not a Connor. He's not smooth on the mic. But dude, that guy, like if you promote him the right way, dude, he has a highlight reel for ever. Like just go with that. That's all you need. Some guys need the personality. Some guys don't.
Well, dude,
some guys are just absolute animals, and just their work alone sells the fight.
I'm sorry, who was your example?
As far as what?
That what you were just explaining. Like
Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, who's the heavyweight champ of the UFC. And the guy literally just looks like the hardest puncher in MMA history.
I think we said it on this podcast. If an alien world was coming here and they were like, give us your champion, we must fight and find out who's better, we would give Francis Ngannou.
We would try our best to like hastily come up with some futuristic looking armor for him, be like, this is our warrior. And the aliens are like, what the fuck is he wearing?
We'd be like, he doesn't need any armor.
Dude, the Emperor's new clothes. They are so fucking strong. Doesn't need anything.
That's great.
Just straight like Achilles from Troy when they just send him out.
Yeah.
He just runs up, stabs him in the neck. He's like, we win. That's it.
Khabib is another one. Khabib is another one where he didn't need to be flashy or like say things that were unnecessary. He allowed all of his actions to speak.
So Khabib's interesting too, because amongst purists, everyone knew from like 2012, 2011 when he came on the scene and he was undefeated. Guy wasn't losing rounds. He was just dominating people. Whether he was dominating, like honestly, he was one of the few guys that wrestled that I was like, this guy is like the most exciting grappler I've ever seen, because it was so aggressive and it was with purpose. It wasn't like, you see some guys like I don't know. I would say like Chael Sonnen even, but Chael Sonnen, he would get a hold of you, take you down, and there'd be no damage. He would work a lot. There's guys that do nothing; they just hold you. I'll give Chael Sonnen this, like he would hold guys down and he would punch a lot, but his punches were so weak. It was almost like he was like, "I'm just gonna hit your side to like make it look like I'm getting points." Yeah, and it's like, I know better. I know what you're doing. You know, like to the layman's eye, maybe it looks like he's doing like some damage, but it's like, all right, you're just doing that for the judges, so they're like, oh, he's working. You know, but like to me, that's not like you watch Khabib, and like he's like punching you in the face. He's like, I deserve this. I am champion. You know, like he's like, you should give up, and then he's tapping you after he's already broken your spirit, broken your will. Like, so he just looked like an actual animal in there when he looked like. Every person he went up against, you saw them look bewildered, and it looked like they were being mauled by like a lion or a bear. Like, yeah, an animal doesn't look flashy when it's killing you, but it looks really fucking brutal and aggressive, and that's what Khabib looked. So it was like it added to an exciting element to the grappling. You know what I mean? And he was finishing people. I think where he went superstar status, he was like, to the purists, like I said before, he was huge. The minute he won the belt, it was pretty big because that same weekend, Conor came, threw the dolly at the boss, you know, trying to interrupt the fight and everything. And then only a couple months later, the fight was booked. And then I think early October of 2018, they fought. I mean, you beat Conor. You beat the megastar. He became the megastar after that. And then he goes on to defend the belt like 2 more times. And he submitted 3 guys in a row, 3 top guys.
So I think what's really interesting is that, all right, I think it's very clear, and I have a jiu-jitsu parallel eventually to go to. I wish we had like a soundbite for that. And maybe we should do that in the future. Have a soundbite for when we do like jiu-jitsu philosophy. So
or not.
Khabib.
I mean, we have some intro music here.
Oh,
yeah, that didn't really. It wasn't like a segue music.
No,
yeah.
So I think when people watch UFC, obviously we watch it for the fights, but leading up to the fights, what makes it interesting is when you're listening to the fighters and how they're breaking things down, breaking each other down. Obviously, we know some of it is fake. Some of it they don't really mean, and sometimes they cross the line or whatever. Some people are excited about those heels.
Some real to me, bro.
Some people, I think, lean towards the fighters like Khabib and Islam and Francis Ngannou and guys that are just so about mastering what they're going to do in the ring versus what they're going to do in front of the mic. They don't care about what they're doing in front of the mic. They don't care about what they're doing in front of the cameras. They care about destroying their opponent. And I think that has to do with their culture. Because when you look at these guys,
what are you drawing the parallel to, though?
So my parallel is
Someone like Conor.
No, my parallel is when it comes to culture. When you're making me jump too fast here, but when you come to culture, when you think in like a gym perspective, like we're blessed to be in Radji's gym, and the culture there is amazing, and the fact that the people who are there and the way we're able to learn on a daily basis and have the training partners that we have, that's all built upon the culture that's created there. I think it's the same thing in training camps. The reason these training camps are so strong is because of the culture that comes behind it. Look at Khabib coaching Islam in his previous fight for that Kimura. I mean, that was unbelievable. Thank you.
You guys keep blocking your own cameras with your hands.
Oh, my bad.
I was doing that too.
Yeah, hey, I'm from New Jersey. I talk with my hands.
Make a point like this.
I'm gonna make a point with my hands. But you get what I'm saying? Like,
well, it depends because it's like, all right, so because I'm trying to draw parallels
to
that's why
bad culture gyms.
No, but I'm like, what do you mean? Like, all right, to compare it to somebody that's like on the microphone, like Kobe Covington. Do you not think? All right. We're going to get into that, but do you think he doesn't have a good training camp? Guy wins.
I think he has the people around him that he put there because clearly, as we'll get to it when we do, he got kicked out of his gym. He got kicked out of the original space he was in.
I'm not saying he's not toxic, but what we're saying is...
That's kind of what I'm getting at is like the toxicity. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful. It means that if you're toxic in what you do and in your camp and everything's about you and nothing is about anybody else. Like you notice like guys like Khabib and Ngannou, these once you get them actually talking about their training and whatnot, you hear them like give so much credit to the people that they're with, and you find out that like, look, now Khabib has finished fighting, or at least for now has finished fighting. He's in Islam's corner. He's been around him. They've created a community. They have that culture now created, and this is another reason why they're. I think Amanda used the word otherworldly in the chat. Like this is why they're otherworldly, is because they have the work being done from all these people. When you're a toxic person like that, you only care about yourself.
I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys probably are like that, though. I mean, it's a single serving type sport. I mean, it's really,
it's just you and the other guy.
It's funny
right?
because, I mean, I guess we could segue to the Kobe Covington Masvidal stuff.
Yeah,
now,
it's actually a good time
because, dude, even with them, it's like I feel like Masvidal even was accusing him.
Oh, we didn't show the freaking ending. We should show the ending of that fight, the Islam fight. We talked about it all this time.
All right. Does anybody want to see that?
Yeah. Does anybody want to see it?
It's only like it's a minute.
It's like 2 seconds.
But it's not ready. Where is it?
Oh, it's not ready?
No.
You didn't put it on there?
No.
Ah, Jesus.
No, just move on.
All right, we'll move on. We'll go to the next topic. So we'll go to Masvidal and Kobe Covington. So Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit about Masvidal and Covington's history, their bad blood, how it led up to this?
I've been training together for like, before they split, which was like 2 years ago now. They were training with each other for like 8 years or something like that. They were living together. They were roommates. I mean, you just watch a UFC countdown to find out all this stuff. But they, I guess what happened was
Eddie.
What? Yeah, this time I'm the one that's going to tell you. So apparently, Masvidal, while they were both coming up, Masvidal's been an older star he's been around forever. He's been fighting since he was 18. He was doing backyard fights with Kimbo Slice and everything. And he was fighting at Strikeforce. He was one of these guys that always had like a Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz. He was always in these really good close fights. He got into like, some TKOs and stuff like that, but most of the time he would like get decision victories and stuff like that. Why am I not coming through?
No, you're good. Somebody just made a comment. Keep going.
Hot Neil 201 wants to know, Eddie, who's your beer sponsor?
Big Wave.
Today's podcast is brought to you by
Big Wave.
Thank you, Big Wave.
Also by Hot Neil 201, Wendy. Shout out to Hot Neil.
Oh god, that's great.
So
keep going, yeah.
Yeah, so what was I saying? So Masvidal, yeah, so I guess what was leading up, obviously Kobe was coming up. He was almost kicked out of UFC because he was one of these guys that was branded as like a boring personality. Then he did the weird Trump thing. Mm-hmm. We started acting out. He's like a wrestler.
Right.
Almost. He became like a heel. He was doing let's make, UFC great again, kind of knocking off the whole Trump thing.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I mean, it worked for him.
Sport.
We're all tuning in. We all give a shit
true.
now.
Yeah.
He was like one fight away. I forget. He fought a Brazilian in Brazil, butchered him. And then he was basically like, you're all a bunch of filthy animals to like the fans. And they had to escort him out because they were throwing shit at him and everything. And then I think his next fight, he was fighting Rafael dos Anjos for the welterweight interim title fight.
He called Brazil a dump.
Yeah.
He did.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
And
Rafael dos Anjos, right?
Yeah. And Dos Anjos was the lightweight champ at one point. He moved up. He lost to Eddie Alvarez, and Eddie Alvarez lost to Conor McGregor. A lot of belt changing and everything else, and then Khabib became champ and everything. Anyway, getting off track. But so Kobe became interim champ, and I guess they were supposed to unify it with him and Tyron Woodley was the champ at the time. That fell through. I guess Kobe wanted more money. They didn't give it to him. So then Tyron Woodley fought Till. Till lost. Till was up and coming. That guy was supposed to be big time, but he moved up to middleweight. So then after that, Till fought Masvidal. Masvidal had like a little bit of a layoff, and he was on a win streak. And then I think he lost to like Damian Maia, and then he was like out for like a year or two. And when he came back, he knocked out Till, and Till was like this upcoming, like, oh, this is the next like Conor McGregor, but for welterweight division. Right. Striking looked amazing. He came off like a huge win against oh my god, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And Thompson, everyone knows he's a top welterweight, top 5. He's been top 5, I don't know, last 5+ years. Fought for the belt against Tyron Woodley twice. So obviously, I think things started changing in their gym once Kobe became interim champ and shit started going down. So what happened was Kobe started training under Masvidal's main striking coach, and he took him under his wing. And I guess all the success started happening after that. And again, Masvidal and Kobe were like boys. They lived with each other.
And Jorge was already, at the top of the sport here, right?
He wasn't a top, but he was established. He was like a top 5 to top 10 guy, always in good fights. The thing with him is
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was Masvidal, did he have Kimbo Slice connection?
Yes,
he did.
Well,
right?
He fought in the backyard fights with him. He was
right.
like 18.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Yeah. So he's been fighting forever, and he's one of these guys that every
Shout
time.
out to the 305.
Yeah. Miami.
Yeah.
So he was, he would win fights and then he would lose these split decision fights. It was always good fights, but it was his losses were could have went either way.
And he's mainly a boxer, right?
Who, Masvidal?
Yeah,
he's a striker. He kicks a lot.
Kicks too.
He's not a grappler in that sense.
That's what I was.
He's a striker. At. Yeah.
Have you seen him on the ground? Have you seen him? I mean, he's been in 50 fights. He's had to have been on the ground at least a couple times.
He's got decent enough MMA jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? He's actually think about it. When he fought Usman the first time, Usman tried taking him down. When he took him down, he got up.
What's the name of that gym he trains at?
American Top Team.
Yeah. Beautiful gym.
Huge.
That's one of those gyms we've talked about that's set up for photos and it's just beautiful.
A huge warehouse. A huge warehouse that has an actual octagon in it. You know what I mean? They have a ring. They have huge mat space. Looks.
So I interrupt you. So we're at Kobe taking his striking coach.
Yeah. So I guess his striking coach took him on your training. Obviously, that's Masvidal set it up, and it's cool. Apparently, great success. Started winning, became interim champ. Great success. And I guess he never paid him. He never paid him at all, and I guess that hurt Masvidal because even though they were close, it's I've been with this guy forever, and this guy's had my back forever.
Am I crazy in saying it wasn't even that much money either? It was
12,000, something like that.
Yeah,
that's bro,
for them, that's nothing.
I mean, I don't know what Kobe was making at the time. Either way, you're not paying your the guy that's training you. You set up training camps. The money comes out of these fighters. It's not like people are paying for the fighting camps for the fighters. So it's you're taking advantage of who's one of your really close friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the fucking story for this is what they're saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Reported.
I don't. Yeah,
we're talking about what's reported.
Masvidal could be the piece of shit for all I know. You know what I mean? But Kobe just comes off. I watch him in these interviews, and he just. I mean, he went on Candace Owens. It was it's all an act. So to me already, it's all right. So you're just full of shit. You're
fake.
You're for yourself only.
Eyeliner.
And obviously,
where he's got the eyeliner, he's got the chains.
It looks like eyeliner.
I hope. Sure. I mean, if it's not eyeliner, that's some weird ass shit he's got. Did he tattoo his eyelids?
Actually, it's weird. Actually, if you just told me he looked weird, it's weirder that he's putting eyeliner on.
Some people just have that kind of weird eyeliner-y look.
Well, I mean, is it any different than fucking Israel Adesanya doing what were they called them? The French
tips.
Yeah, what the fuck? Anyway,
it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's
pulling dingleberries out of his ass.
That's why they have to be polished afterward.
That's why they have to be cleaned.
I mean, I think that we agree they're both kind of annoying, and the guy has a punchable look. Phil agrees here. He wants to see a Rocky Apollo double knockout with these a-holes because he can't stand either.
Hold on, Phil.
Wait,
I gotta argue
this.
Yeah, I gotta argue this. You don't like Masvidal, dude? Come on.
Phil has. Phil doesn't like the Conor.
Phil's our friend. He's not just a random person.
Phil's fucking awesome.
Shout out to Phil. Thanks for watching us, brother.
Awesome fucking dude. One of my brothers for sure. It's funny because we watched a lot of fights together. We don't always agree, but he has a lot of knowledge as well. And I noticed he doesn't like the brash talk. It's funny, actually. I'm calling Phil out right now because he's a shit talker. We do fantasy sports, and he's a shit talker. He's fucking funny as hell. But it's funny because he hates shit talkers when it comes to watching and stuff like that. But yeah, he doesn't like those type of guys. That would be funny though. I feel if we saw a double knockout, have we ever seen one in UFC?
But isn't that like kind of like that would be epic? Like that would be like a good thing. Like let me rephrase that. Not a good thing, but like when you watched the Apollo Rocky knockout, it was like, oh my goodness, this is good. Like I can't believe a movie would do this. Like
so corny.
It was really
fucking
cheesy.
movie.
There's like a period in the 80s where there was a level of cheese that just was tolerated or even encouraged. Like now it's not like that. Yeah, we were.
It's always Sunny reference.
Yeah. We'll go back to that. But I brought the stat sheet back up.
Yeah,
here
the stat sheet's
because
really
Amanda made an
interesting.
interesting comment that I think would foster the conversation a little bit here.
I
because there is quite an age gap.
I don't
my
care.
opinion.
Covington is probably at the
he's
end of his prime.
Yeah.
I would say prime is 27 to 33.
Yeah, it just depends on where your mind's at that point, right? Because your body is going to be in ideal shape. At 27, obviously, you're going to recover better. I don't know if any of you guys noticed. I noticed a big difference in recovery. I'm not an athlete like these guys, but the time it took to recover and how I felt really started changing around 27, 28. Like when I spent the day in the gym, I would be able to freaking really tell compared to even at like 25 or 24. So, but the mind, right? The experience and the mind. I mean, look at how many more fights Masvidal has had over Covington. Over 30 more fights than he has, and that accounts for something.
Normally, you would probably say that's like an experience thing, so it's good. But at the same time, if you've been hit just one too many times, that could be a bad thing too.
Right. It depends on how those numbers look comparatively. How many times you've been hit? How big of battles were those fights? Because 50's a fucking lot.
That's
a
lot of fights, dude.
That's a lot of pepper on the plate, bro. You know.
And it's funny. Masvidal, outside of because he fought Usman twice. First fight was just unanimous decision. The second fight was obviously got knocked out cold. Here's my worry. I'm rooting for Jorge Masvidal. Kobe's the younger fighter. He just came off they're both coming off losses to the champ. Difference is Kobe didn't get knocked out. Now, he looked different in the second fight. Kobe looked very hesitant. Masvidal, I think he's going to come out and do his thing. He's about violence. So is Kobe. But here's the thing. You get knocked out like that, he's 37. Yeah. Whatever the fucking saying.
Good point.
And Masvidal, outside of that, I don't remember him ever getting.
It's funny.
He's gotten choked out.
You're right, because in like when you're in your 20s and you hear some of these fighters too, a lot of times they say it, like Izzy said it. He was like, when I go in that ring, I'm ready to die. When you start getting to your 30s and these guys have been making money now and now they're secured, and right, they're like, I don't want to die. All right, I'm done. This wasn't fun anymore. I want
to remember my kids. And
I have a question for you though. When it comes to Kobe, if he were to win this fight, what are the strengths that are gonna show in Covington? Whereas, like, we know if Masvidal wins this fight, it's probably going to be with striking.
I think Kobe can win that way too. I honestly can see Kobe dragging him. I don't know. It depends on how. If that's what I'm saying. Like, you're older, you get knocked out once, your chin's never the same. I don't know what damage, because, dude, like, Kobe's kind of like Max Holloway. He puts out a lot of output as far as punches and volume, and like he has a very high ratio of strike per minute. So I mean, he clips him, and he's a collegiate wrestler too. Like he out grapples him, and he just puts the pace on Masvidal, and he gets tired in the third, fourth round and could TKO him.
Who has advantage stand up? Who has advantage on the ground?
On paper, Kobe's better grappler. Masvidal's the better striker, but striking wise, I think he's got more power, but because Kobe's got a lot of volume in his striking. So like you're throwing 50% and you could throw a lot more, and you're putting on the pressure. I don't care how good Masvidal is. If he's backing up, he's backpedaling. You've seen it before. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes these guys, you get tired that way too. You're feeling pressure. You get clinched up against the cage, and Kobe's throwing elbows and punches. They don't seem like much. They add up. You know what I mean?
I'm big on reach. I always look at reach. I know that is for me classically from watching boxing. So it's a lot different in MMA because of the because it's mixed martial arts that you could do anything.
Options.
But how much of a difference is that reach in MMA versus boxing?
I think it's styles.
It depends on the matchup. Yeah, definitely. Because there's so many different things, right? You could keep somebody who has a longer reach away from you if you want to kick that leading leg constantly. And that's a strategy you see by a lot of fighters.
Boxing obviously has the pure advantage if you have the reach.
Right.
Because you're only striking. You're only boxing.
Right.
And
if we do a little of that framework, like
if
we
you
talked
can't
about
get
last
out
week,
of the way, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
And in MMA, right? Like you have the longer reach. Well, if the guy's the wrestler, in Kobe's case, all right, so he makes the adjustment. He goes to the well. He's like, I can wrestle this guy. I've actually fought him in the gym, and I know I can out wrestle him. So, I pepper him, let him throw a couple Hail Marys, and then get in and double leg him, or get him in the clinch. And
I don't think we'd ever see this, but it's interesting. You know how in the NFL, they do the combine, and they measure the athletes for their jump, their speed, and all that stuff.
I don't know, that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
what's the fucking purpose of
it? Would just because it's human versus human, and like, oh, this guy's much faster, but he lost.
Exactly. You would see all these fucking stats and be like, all right, so none of them matter.
Yeah, I mean,
because you gotta understand
100% oversaturation.
Yeah, because just like because you could see a guy do great in Columbine and he's a fucking bust.
Imagine if Dana White did that though. He was like, all right, for you guys to get paid from now on, you guys have to do all these skill challenges and like jump and run and all this stuff.
40-yard dash. I want
Right,
to see
exactly. I want to see your 40.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good.
But yeah, to me, wrestling, I mean, MMA, fighting, it doesn't matter, man, because it's like in any sport too. It's like will, spirit, heart. That counts for a lot. You know what I mean? Like somebody's willingness to go into the deep waters and believe in themselves, and sometimes it's not even the better technical fighter or the more like sometimes you can see a guy and be like, yeah, he's obviously the more talented fighter.
Right.
It's like, all right, you look at Conor and Nate Diaz first fight, right? It's like, dude, you watch Nate getting pieced apart in that first round. Like clearly, fucking Conor looks like the movie. He looks like Tony Jaa. Or he looks like one of these like martial art guys in a movie. You're like, Jesus, look at some of the shit he's doing. It looks fucking beautiful. Like he's doing like spinning kicks and shit. It looks awesome. And then all it takes is like a tough ass dude like Nate Diaz. He looks goofy in there. He looks like a stick figure with a beer belly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he catches him with like a 1-2 and he's like pointing at him like, hey, I got you, bro. And all of a sudden he's in his head a little bit. And then he ends up like choking him out in that first fight. But let's be honest, Conor is the better, like technical looking fighter. But when Nate has got that iron heart, you know what I mean? Like that will that you can't break, and that counts for a lot,
So Phil had a little response here for you. MMA has always been about respect and honor. Strategy and skill always have and will play a role, but there's no respect or honor in the senseless trash talk. It's embarrassing for the sport.
Yeah, that's the shit that gets you to watch it too, though. So it's like it's weird when people, I agree and I disagree. In the gym as a martial art, yes, you should have that humbleness about you and respect and everything else. Again, here you are, you're still tuning in like a Mayweather, right? You're tuning in because all that trash talk. Now you're tuning in because you want to see them lose. Doesn't matter. It's doing exactly what they want, and it's to get you to tune in, whether it's to root for them or to root against them. It still has its same purpose, which is to get you to get your ass in the seat and want to watch. Either way, you still want to watch, win or lose.
It would be interesting if we can do like a separate. We do a separate podcast maybe after we do some digging on that, because I've heard. There's something behind like the heel and stuff. That might even draw more people because they want to see this person lose more than they want to see the other person win. It's
storylines,
like,
dude. You see it in sports all the time.
It's just like storyline, not even the storyline. Like I hate this guy. Every time he shows his face on the camera, he's a dick and this and that. And I just want to see him lose.
It's part of the storyline.
I guess that's part of the storyline.
He's the heel, like you said. He's the bad guy. He's the guy.
I think that, and I could be wrong on this. Let's see if we could dig up some numbers for a future discussion. But I think that actually puts more people. It's like headline news, dude. It's just the bullshit brings the eyes for whatever reason. That's just how it is. And then, yeah, it's
entertaining because
for
it
the
gives
sport. It grows the sport. It's kind of just like this necessary evil discussion, right? Like, would we be better without it? Maybe.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, would we be
We're
less
talking about it.
popular?
I have a jiu-jitsu parallel.
Segue.
Segue. All right. So when it comes to training in the gym, it is different from competition.
Don't be a heel in the gym.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's different.
But when
You ain't
you,
gonna last in that gym if you're a heel.
my point is
Unless
that
you're a
when you
savage
you go to
GTFO.
competition, when you go to a competition, it's kind of like, that guy that's gonna compete with you, he don't really care about you. And you shouldn't care about him either.
No. See, that's where I think it's a little different than like entertainment. When you go to compete,
Mhm.
it ain't fucking entertainment. People that are there are like friends and family.
Sure.
It's not fans.
But
no one's getting paid.
My point is just the actual competition.
Now, does that mean you just go full blown hard? Yeah. You're no holds barred. That doesn't mean you're not humble. That doesn't mean you don't have respect for your opponent.
Not arguing
And
that.
like you just broke his arm because he didn't tap. Well, help that motherfucker up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's different than like
That's
MMA.
like character. That's a humane thing. My point in the parallel is that, excuse me. My point in the parallel is that once you go to compete, like, so MMA, when you start your competition because you're going to fight this guy, no holds barred. Now it's time. It doesn't matter.
It's a fight. It's a fucking fight.
Exactly. So,
like,
I'm not saying that if you're competing in
fuck him
jiu-jitsu
up as much as you legally can.
I'm not saying that when you compete in jiu-jitsu, that when you get to that actual place that you're competing at, that you're like, walk around like you're Conor McGregor and like start to talk trash to people. It's just more along the lines of that when you go actually compete, that it's not the same way that you would train when you're in the gym, because you're not going to go no holds barred when you're in the gym with other people, and you shouldn't. I mean, some people do. We've talked about that in the past with dirty stuff that happens in a gym. Like, you should be thinking about your training partners. If it doesn't make you or your training partner better, why the fuck are you doing it?
Right.
There's no reason to do it.
Right.
And that thought process should be going through your head when you're training. If you do something and you like for example, today I was rolling with one of the purple belts. Eddie was watching on open mat, and I was driving up towards the lapel and grip real tight. And he says to me, he goes, "You're on my skin." We stopped rolling. I was like, "My bad, dude. Was I pinching you?" He was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Go back in there and get the grip." And I went back in there and I got the grip on the lapel again, and we restarted. Because me gripping him by his skin and pinching him, that's not making either one of us better. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it wasn't rude to stop us.
Hey, idiot, grab my lapel.
Yeah. Hey, idiot, grab my lapel, not my actual neck.
Or he should be grabbing your neck, just not pinching your neck.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
Or
mean,
vice versa.
the other kind of idea behind that is that you want more training partners to be able to come back tomorrow. Like, right? If you go and you hurt everybody that you train with, then first of all, people aren't going to train with you anymore.
This is where the conversation is going. It's like, well, what's even the fucking point of that? Like, okay, so what? You cleaned out your training partners? And
Right.
What?
Oh, like if you like,
and then on to the next gym? Like, what is that?
right,
Even?
like if you
Those
submitted
guys are
every
out
single
there.
training partner, like
They're out there.
like it's I was talking to Professor about this the other day. Like, it's important that as a higher belt, if you're rolling with a lower belt, if you hit this guy with the same arm bar or whatever the submission you're taking on him, and you hit him with it 2-3 times, and it was like walking in the front door, well, don't keep attacking the same way. Maybe take the time to explain it to him so that he can make you better, so that when you go to attack again for that same submission, he has a better sense of how to defend it. That making him better is going to make you better, because the next time you go to attack him and he knows how to respond, all of a sudden you have to think differently. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's mind-boggling to me. Like, I know that I was lucky enough to be entered into a gym with, my family here, and also in a culture that understood this stuff. So I'm very blessed to be in that. But it seems to me like common sense that if you don't grasp these basic concepts, like, it's like, how thick-headed do you have to be?
Well, I mean, listen, hey, however you run your gym is however you run your gym. But like, I think it's incumbent to set the standards that people come in the gym and they're selfless. Like you're not going in with the ego of like this is about me. And yeah, it's an individual sport, no doubt, obviously. But like when you're in the gym, it's family, it's your camaraderie, it's your training partners. They're the ones that help you get to the point when if you're a competitor, especially, it's like, yeah, when you go out there and you compete against people that aren't a part of the gym, yeah, fuck them up. Take everything that you need to take out on that to win. But obviously, like you're getting there because you're training partners. You don't get there alone,
right?
So why would you beat the shit out of even if you're better than everybody? Like, why do you need to prove against the people that are actually helping you? Because you weren't. I'm sorry, but you didn't start off that way.
Right.
You got better than everybody because they were helping you, pushing you along, and you just happen to have that talent that made you better than everybody else. Respect that. That's it.
I mean, you can't get there alone, but what about with one of those big stuffed jiu-jitsu dummies?
You're not getting anywhere with that.
How good can you get with that?
That's no different
than Uki.
The big stuffed sand Uki.
I mean, you know what? One of my favorite things to see on the mats, and when I have something that I can actually like ask the question, one of my favorite things is like being around upper belts that will turn around to a lower belt and say, "What did you do there? I had trouble with that. Can you show me what you did? Can you show me that move?"
Mm-hmm.
Hell no, I'm not showing you that.
I've done it before. I've been with wrestlers. I've been with some white belts before. I have blue belts that are below me. I don't look at them like that. I don't look at them like they're below me. I look at them like, hey, we're working hard together. And when he does something that I can't do or I haven't done before, I ask him, I say, hey, how'd you do that, man? That really had an effect on our role. It stopped me from being able to do what I wanted to do. What did you do to, negate me from being able to get from point A to point B? And
you ever have anybody be like, no, I'm not fucking showing you that shit?
You, I think you told me at least once or twice. You were like, no, I'm not showing you because you got me last time with this. Fuck you, bro.
Because you asked me as we're doing it. It's like, no,
yeah, that's true. You're right.
Like, wait, what am I doing wrong?
Like, hey, bro,
I'd show you, and all of a sudden it's reversed. I'm like, whoa, why did I even fucking show you now? Should have told you after.
Oh, that's great. Where we at? Kind of lost my place here.
All right,
yeah,
so
man.
predictions.
Let's predictions.
That's good. The card.
Yeah.
We'll show the card.
Well, before we pull up the card predictions, I'm gonna go with Masvidal.
You can show the whole card, and we could do like the first couple fights predictions.
Yeah, that's cool too. I'm down with it. I'm going with Masvidal for the main event.
Winning or who you want to win?
I want him to win. I as the listeners may know, and I've said it before, I'm here learning, and
he's rooting for him because he's Cuban.
Yes, that is a good point. That is a very good point. But I like Masvidal. I feel like him when I've heard him be a heel, it's not it's obnoxious, but it's not like Mayweather obnoxious. It's not like Covington obnoxious. It's more along the lines of like, I'm cocky about what I do and I go do it and watch me go do it. Like I don't think I've ever heard
it's cocky, it's confidence, man. All these guys have to have confidence in themselves. Dude, think about it. You're fighting, man.
You got nothing else.
You naturally you're gonna think you're better than everybody. Like you're fighting. Otherwise, if you had that doubt, and if you even if you do, you're not gonna say it out loud. If you do, then it's like you're admitting to the world, like, yeah, I'm just doing this.
You mean
I'm good enough to fight some of these guys, but
yeah, you won't have enough of an offensive to be able to surmount a win. You just won't.
Yeah, you're already mentally checking out. You're mentally beating yourself if you're just not saying you're the best. And like it's annoying when you hear every one of them say like, yeah, I'm gonna beat this guy. Like I'm the best. It's like, yeah, as fucking viewers, we're like, yeah, of course, everyone fucking says that's the same old shit, but you got to.
Unless you have some like weird Mr. Magoo moment and you're just like you flinch, like no, and your opponent just slips and like lands chin first on your knee and you win by knockout.
Yeah, well. That's always one way,
Yeah, that Amanda brings up about ego from and we talk about that all the time when it comes to walking into the gym. If you can't leave your ego at the door and you can't lose, like you need to realize like losing is part of ultimately reaching victory. Like you need to understand what it means to lose to actually be able to win. because if you can't, if you are a,
What do they say? Failure is their best teacher.
absolutely,
It's cliche, but
yeah,
it's the truth.
yeah. I mean, you can have the mentality that you do not want to lose, but when you're in the gym, if you leave your ego at the door and it comes to a point where you are losing, like being submitted, tap, don't die. Don't,
Well,
you
to
know what I
me,
mean?
it's like what do you hold?
Rear naked choke. You just
Right.
die.
You just go to sleep. Night night.
Yeah, and then you're waking up. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, what was the point of that? It's like
And that's just
You wake up
dangerous.
at home.
I think also just as equally important. I guess it goes along with the ego. Is just dude, leave the emotion. I'm not gonna go into like what I could possibly go into, but it's like sometimes it's like you could be your own worst enemy, man.
Go into it, Ed.
No, I'm not doing that.
You can
But-
go into it.
No. But like sometimes people, get really upset with their training and like
Mhm.
and they feel like they should be
Oh, I see where you're at.
more ahead than they should be. And I think, dude, work your own pace. Like you're gonna set your own barriers at that point, and you're gonna get in your own head.
Yep.
You're not gonna be able to develop because you're worrying too much of like, this is where I should be. No, you are where you're at. That's the reason why you're there. And I would just come in, be like a sponge,
If
learn
you're-
as much as you can. And the only way to do that is accepting that defeat. Like you go in, you're like, why am I getting submitted so many times? I don't know. Why don't you see how you're submitting?
Mhm.
Why getting submitted? Why don't you pay attention to like why you're getting these positions? And then like say if you want to learn like work on stuff, or even if you want to ask your professor or ask some of your fellow, practitioners, or if you want to watch YouTube even, then it's like if you start paying attention and you're breaking down like where am I failing? And you're paying attention. You're not looking at it as like, well, I shouldn't say failing. Where am I lacking? Where can I build upon so I'm not feeling like, all right, in these positions, I'm weaker here. It's like, all right, well, just pay attention. That way you can look up things where you could work on those actual those sequences to the techniques that you're working on.
Your shortcomings.
Yeah, and then you're more aware of those. Because if you just said like why isn't this working? Well, like one, you got to ask the right questions to yourself, not like pity yourself. Like jiu-jitsu is a long journey. Like you got to realize like you're in it, you want to be good at it. Not only do you have to do it forever, you have to be consistent. You have to continue to do it. You got to know like I'm doing this. I'm in it. This is a commitment.
It's
You got to
kinda-
keep trying.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
part of the process, right? Like as a white belt, you have to break through all those like insecurities and realizations that like I'm gonna lose. I suck. I'm
Yeah.
awful. I'm not good at this. I don't realize how this works. And breaking through that barrier, because you finally get to a point where you realize, okay, it feels good to get a promotion. It feels good to get a belt. But at the same time, if you're focused on that, if you're just squarely looking at your belt and like what stripe you have and like what, you clearly don't get it. Like
Yeah.
you don't understand what you're doing.
You're missing it. You're missing more than half of it, at that point. It's like,
Yeah, I think people are getting caught up on like the reward factor of,
Mhm.
of getting that promotion and things like that. But to your point, one of the things, and I haven't gotten to coach in a while, unfortunately, but when I did, and I had some beginners and some newer belts under, one of the things that I used to say all the time is that, one, I already have a lot of respect for anybody who makes it a blue belt because you kept coming to class and you kept getting your ass kicked, basically. And another thing that I say is that, at least for me, my journey at white belt is I learned a lot of what not to do.
Mhm.
Like a lot of my white belt journey was just, how do I not get caught in this, get caught in that, get swept like this, get swept like that. So I learned a lot of don'ts. Learned a lot of don'ts. And then towards the end of that, right before I got my blue, I started saying, all right, I'm moving, I have more of a defensive position now, spending a lot of time on my back and in my guard. So now let me start turning those into attacks. And that's where I started learning attacks from the back.
And you start
things
getting
like that.
chains.
Well,
You
think
start
about it.
seeing like the
Yeah.
actual lanes of what you're going
Right.
to.
So anybody who dedicated themselves through the entirety of white belt has already have a certain level of dedication and respect from the rest of us, because that ain't easy. You didn't come in for a year dominating people and having amazing nights all the time and going home and being like, I kicked ass today. Maybe if you only sought out other white belts that are, to your level or less. But for the most part, if you want to learn and progress, you're doing it from higher belts and people who are better than you. And so
Shout out to
look,
the assholes only looking for white belts to roll with.
Look, I mean, the same should go at any belt, right? Like we should all be getting our asses kicked a couple times per night when we go.
It never goes away.
It never goes away, but at white, particularly when you know nothing when you're starting.
Well,
off.
it's just like you said, right? It's common sense, right? You're a white belt, so it's like everyone takes it as a negative. It's like no, you're a beginner, so you're taking all this. Regardless, when you're getting your ass kicked, you're downloading all this information, and that's what you should be doing. You should be working on your defenses and going, oh, that was a mistake. You should be going like, you know what, I'm going to try this. Oh, that didn't work. Now I know not to.
I have a perfect.
Oh, let me try that. Oh, that doesn't work.
I have a
now I know
perfect practical example. When you're a white belt and your opponents are going for the armbar, the first thing you learn to get out of that armbar is to drive the elbow towards the mat, because that stops your arm from being extended and being above the hips and clearing that area where your arm could get trapped by the legs as well. So when you drop your elbow, now all of a sudden you can start to pull your arm out and you can start to roll and move your hips around. That's like one of the first things you realize, like Len was saying, like you learn, when the triangle's coming, you learn that if you keep your arms extended, that somebody's going to use that against you. And I think another point too that Len said is when it comes to like, when you hear the word coaching, when you hear somebody say like, my time coaching this and that, that person had enough time to reflect, that they actually realize what jiu-jitsu is. Like, okay, maybe you're a blue belt and you're teaching, but the people around you realize that like you do leave your ego at the door. You are about learning together. You don't care about winning in your gym. You care about elevating the level of you and your partners, because that's the most important thing. That's what the community and the culture is built upon. That was kind of my point, what I brought up before with the Dagestanis and Khabib and Islam. Is Dariush from Dagestan too? Is he from like Russia, like that area over there? I don't know. But either way, I think he had, if I'm not mistaken, he also has that similar character.
Maybe Len could look it up.
Like he's got that similar character, Dariush, where it's like very calm, coordinated, focused. It's not about how
calculated.
It's not the cock fight. Like, oh, I got to stick my chest out and show everybody how strong I am. I'm so awesome. And look at my beard. It's all sharp. Like, it's about what you're doing in the actual ring. It's about what you do on the mats with your partners. Mm-hmm. It's about how you take care of each other to elevate each other's games.
Listen, I'm again, for me, since you're kind of bringing it up subtly, like I don't care about those guys that are trying to be entertaining. They could back it up. That's fine. Again, sometimes styles make matchups. You get a guy that's really good, like Islam Makhachev, who's like, Makhachev. Yeah, he's not the flashiest, but he's gonna out grapple you, take you down, and either choke you out or TKO you with mounting you and punching you like he did against Bobby Green. He did it in like 2 minutes.
Let's check out what
he's gonna end you.
Let's check out what Hot Neil is telling us here. White belt was when I thought I could literally run around people's guard. Yeah, not so much. And I believe this is obviously from his name, Hot Neil. I believe this is Neil, a resident purple belt. You think it's Neil? I think it's Neil.
What gave that away? Was it the name Neil?
But we were just talking about this today. We were talking with a white belt, which was awesome, Neil. Shout out to you. That was fun, man. Joining together and like having a conversation with somebody who has no idea what the hell they're doing and is lost, and asking questions, and that they're lost because the level of the question is so basic. It's like, well, why am I not getting around him? Like, well, because you're
doing the same thing.
Because you're doing the same thing, and there's so many other things that are going on.
Yeah,
you're not paying attention to. But he was explaining to him very basically, like, like the concept of when you're with your opponent, it's like a table. It's like a 4-legged table or a 3-legged table. You need to get one to lose balance. And once you have one kind of rocking a little bit, then all of a sudden now you could find yourself sweeping your opponent. But it was a good time. But what my point was is, again, back to the community, back to the culture. It's not about what your belt level is. It's about bringing everybody up, because if you're constantly working on each other, it's just a beautiful environment where everyone is working together.
I just think the idea that no matter what, you're going to get the best outcome for yourself when you look at jiu-jitsu that way.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it from think about it. How much better are you as a practitioner when you're teaching and you're breaking it down? Not only, it's like one thing, see, if you don't teach, you don't coach, you could be amazing practitioner. You could just be naturally gifted,
Mm-hmm.
but you're breaking it down differently. Sometimes you're just breaking it down by muscle memory and just reactiveness. And when you really teach and you break down the moves, there's a whole nother level of understanding. I think it just brings out the best of your game.
It could also be a teacher who's just teaching off of pure pain, which we've had in the past, of just explaining things in the way, this is how you crush the wrist.
If you really want,
this is how you explode the tendon.
I hated hearing that. I hated hearing the word explode. What was the other one?
Does it sound sexier?
No,
Rupture.
it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with it. It was just because, if you're all right, real talk. If you're explaining to your class how to complete a move in the gym, and you're saying, this is how you dislocate the arm from the shoulder. It's like, dude, you have a white belt in here that doesn't even understand anything. And you're going to tell him that while we're drilling, you want him to pull my arm out of my shoulder. He doesn't know fucking, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't understand all those concepts. So when you're using those analogies, I don't know. To me, it's frustrating. It's like, you're a black belt. You should know this. I should have prefaced with that. It was a black belt, but you're a black belt. You should know that when you're teaching white belts this stuff, and we should, as a higher belt, you should be paired up with a white belt, right? So you're sitting there, and before you can even have a conversation with him, he's trying to pull your arm out of your shoulder.
Yeah,
just because the guy explained it that way.
Yeah, I think you got to know that the things that you're kind of showing are dangerous in the hands of somebody who doesn't realize that a move like a wrist lock or a shoulder lock or something, people's joints come with different levels of flexibility and different thresholds for even damage, right? Mm-hmm. Not even just pain, damage. My shoulder don't go very far, dude. If I had somebody who didn't know what they were doing and they tore it in a Kimura, it would separate.
You said before about being able to have your training partner again, you want him to recover. Yeah, we train hard. You're going to be sore the next day. You want that person to recover.
Yeah.
All right. Don't break him,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's variables to this, but I don't know. If someone says shit like that, it depends on the personality, right? I mean, obviously, I know who you're talking about,
mm-hmm.
So it's different. That person didn't particularly care about hurting people. But if you're gonna explain it like that,
up, right?
Yeah, no shit. But if you're all right, I don't just explain it like that. That's not gonna make me feel oh, what the fuck. It's because of the personality behind it. Now, if somebody was being funny about it, and it's all right. But in all seriousness, guys, don't actually really yank too hard on this submission or whatever, because you could seriously hurt somebody in this position. You just let it be known, hey, go slower in this position, especially when you're dealing with lower belts, because you're you don't really understand the movement. Go slower, because sometimes white belts, the problem is they'll start doing the technique and they lose control, and they think in the moment that they're going for the actual finish, I gotta fucking yank real hard. It's almost
great point.
95% of these fucking submissions, if you really get the technique down, you can do it so methodical and slow and so controlled. You could basically beat the shit out of anybody, and at the same time protect them from ever getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. There's so many times where I get to a side control position where I drive my knee down onto the person's arm, so I have their arm posted on the mat, and I could keep working, whether it be for a loop choke or straight arm bar or whatever. And I'll go to that Americana, and I'll hold the Americana, and while I'm holding it, I'll do a little bit of a motorcycle grip to take the mobility out of the shoulder joint. And then I just sit there and I wait. I was just talking about it with a new guy that I met today. Shout out to Monty. I think he's joining Radji Barrett Jiu Jitsu. Had a nice conversation with him today. Blue belt was really cool.
Nice.
But while I was having the conversation with him, we were discussing how I held that submission there. I didn't move. I could have easily finished, but I held it. And I was like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to tap? Because I can, I could finish from here, or are you going to work? And if he would have worked to like get out of it, if he had something to do, I would have let him get out of it because I had the submission. But I don't.
There's nothing to prove at that point.
Exactly. And
Right.
it's over.
It's like you knew in your head, you're like, I nailed the technique. At that point,
That's it.
There's nothing else to prove. But, and that's not to take away that, listen, man, that's
It's not to take away from your opponent or anything.
I don't even mean that. It's not to take away from the fact that you can't be a little aggressive at times and really work for what you're, that doesn't even mean like you can still be competitive, but be competitive with the mindset like, all right, I want to beat my opponent in this round. At the same time, I don't want to hurt them. You can still be better and beat your opponent without hurting them.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much my point is if you truly understand jiu-jitsu and everything you can learn from it, you could basically beat anybody and nullify them to the point where they can't do anything and you're not hurting them. Now, that's not to say that you can't be aggressive or fast or explosive, but it's like just know your limits and their limits. I mean,
and what's interesting is that like I guess that's another part of the belt level too, right? Is the fact that when I think it was said the other night, like that's not one, like for somebody to be a purple belt in my school, like Radji stated this, for somebody to be a purple belt in my school, it's not just about what he can do on the mats. It's about what he can accomplish, when it comes to his mind and like being able to like handle certain things. Having these concepts that we're talking right now, these are things that are expected. And if you're not meeting those expectations, I mean, look, there are some gyms out there, I'm sure, that they're not looking for that. They're not paying attention to that. They also don't have the hierarchy of close community that can communicate and is able to identify problem childs. When you're in a gym trying to get good at jiu-jitsu, you are there 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, depending on your age, what you do in life, whatever it may be. We obviously,
or if you're like an actual competitor,
right.
sometimes you're in a gym.
That might be your
Great
job.
point.
Every day, three sessions, depending on the school.
Right.
Man,
And that
there's
guy,
different...
and that guy who's competing, he's not going to roll with the guy that's there twice a week that works in IT. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to spend his time there.
He might. I mean, I think that you can't blanket it.
You don't think so?
No,
I mean,
because I think
no,
he's going to go with everybody. But the thing is, a true competitor, if you're a competitor and you're a higher belt, right?
I'll argue this after you finish, though. Go ahead.
I think that like your own personal wisdom when you're fighting, when you're going up against certain people, you're going to turn the intensity down, or you're going to turn it up to whoever you're going against. Now, like when you're going against guys that compete as well and you're a competitor, at the same time, you want to beat them, but you're not going to. Those are the guys that are really helping you to compete. So
I agree
you're
with
not
that.
you're gonna whoop each other's ass without hurting each other.
I absolutely agree with that. But where I argue with that is that, and to not like, identify the people and the gym and everything like that. We have an important training partner to us that is on a current hiatus in another state, and he's training at a new gym. And he was making it clear that there are some competitors there who are a black belt level, who are not training with everyone. They don't even show up. They're not even showing up to the gym. They're black belts, and they're not competing with these guys that are, like I said before, the guy that's working in IT who's just coming twice a week. They're not even looking at that person. They're not even in the gym at the same time as that guy.
I mean, now that I know it's the school you're talking about, that's a high profile school. That's all about competitors. Those guys focus on the competitors. I mean, that's
that. And also in a school like that, maybe not, whether it's fostered around competitors exclusively or not. I think that if you're in a high traffic area like a city, your business model might be completely different. You might thrive on turnover. Actually,
you understand.
You don't give a shit about building culture and getting people to stay, because the longevity of one particular student doesn't really matter to you if you're in LA county or some shit, and
Southern
there's
Cali is a mecca for
dude,
jiu-jitsu.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
turnover, man. As long as you can,
There's not the
hit a
same level of
quota,
intimacy.
Yeah, you don't care about the guys who've been there forever. Maybe like every school, every organization, to be even broader than that, needs its rocks, right? People who know what's there and that can move whatever the goal is forward. But I think that you might also have, in a gym like that, it's about flash, name, turnover, and things like that.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on it anyway. So the culture, right? Our gym is in a small town that's going to feel way different. Small town in New Jersey perspective.
And I think that's on like I get what you guys are saying, but I also think that that's one of the reasons why we started Adaptive. Like,
yeah,
Adaptive is about
community, culture.
It's about a
to
community
take
and
off,
a culture.
Not to take away from
Eric
friend,
Lim.
yeah.
Shout out to Eric and his
But he's on to something.
Yeah,
There
he's
you
definitely
go.
on to something. But that's kind of why we started Adaptive, was because we looked at it as like, we're 3 men who we have careers outside of jiu-jitsu. We would love to be able to focus on our training 24/7, be in the gym all the time, but we don't have that. So we come together to have these conversations, do our G page, give content in a concentrated way so that, you guys can grow with us as well. And sorry, I keep putting my hands in front of the camera because I'm from New Jersey.
It's okay.
just use your other hand.
All right, just to add to this a little bit, because this is a really good topic for another time. But like, see, the thing that what we're trying to present with our company, our brand, and jiu-jitsu, and our love for it, is what it can bring to people, especially in a global scale. If we implement it in schools, if we implement it into police academies and stuff like that, dude, it's like this, right? If you're well prepared in the
This
military,
is definitely something we're going to talk about.
we're going to go further into it. But what I think so special about it is, it's like gun rights, right? It's like if everyone has a gun, it's like everyone has the equal opportunity to protect themselves. You're going to see less violence. If everybody trains, right, you're less likely to interact in a violent way, because you know what you're capable of. You have more confidence. So you're also like, hey, you know what? I can handle myself if this shit goes, a little further than it should. But you know what? I have the confidence now. Let me try to de-escalate this with my words, because I know if it goes any further, I can handle myself. That's how people start reacting. It's usually the psychos that are insecure or think they're tough, and don't have any real training that react instead of like, let me take a breather here and take myself outside the box in a situation and kind of logically think about what's going on right now.
Jiu-jitsu blesses you with that de-escalation ability.
Right. Or any martial art.
Maybe.
Any martial art. Yeah. Listen.
Yeah, it should, but it may not.
But you're not going to get
it may just make you more like, I could break this guy's arm.
No, but
he's giving me a reason.
All right.
Everyone's got their points,
Nothing's 100%. Nothing's 100%. But
if you're at one of those turnover gyms,
you have a tally for how many arms you've snapped.
Yeah,
it's like Predator. It's like I have a trophy room of arms and fucking.
I go drink on Friday.
I got like a bandolier of arms. It's like, what the fuck is that? I ain't training here, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Yo, I'm out.
Shit's rotten.
I'm out.
What movie was that where the iris on the necklace, but instead it's fucking arms?
If I walk into the gym and I see that, I'm out.
What, Wrong Turn?
I don't remember what
cannibals?
movie. I think it was I think it was a cannibal movie. No, it was
Predator.
Oh, dude, I can't remember what it was.
Well, whatever
For
it
next
is,
episode.
yeah. With that, you see that in a gym, you should turn around and be out.
Go somewhere
right?
else.
Go, leave,
Run.
Be done with it.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please.
To Adaptive Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you as always for tuning in and everything. This was fun, guys.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks again for tuning into episode 6. This is of the Adaptive Podcast. Where we went over that Masvidal and Covington proved that you really definitely shouldn't live with your friends. Dana White is now requiring 40-yard dash to join the UFC, apparently. And don't be a heel at your gym unless you're like Uncle Hanach, in which case you can be the heel deal.
The heel deal.
Heyo.
Oh.
Tonight's podcast is brought you by Radji Barrett Jiu-Jitsu Academy at RadjiBarrettJiu-Jitsu.com. You can follow him at Radji Barrett Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram. Tonight we broadcasted live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So any of you listening in those respective places, thank you. And please like, subscribe, and comment. And we will see you guys again next week. Thank you.
Love you.